It started with laughter, the sharp metallic kind that cuts through even the thickest walls of discipline. Underground at the Shadowhawk training facility, where legends are made and legacies are born, one girl stood alone in oil-stained boots, while future pilots with famous names pointed and smirked. "You here to fix the engine coolant or operate invisible cleaning bots?" someone sneered. The voice belonged to Marcus Sterling. His father's chest was a museum of medals, and his ego carried even more weight. Hot coffee splashed down Maya Cross's uniform, the burn sharp, the message sharper. "Oops, sorry, grease monkey," Marcus added with a mock shrug. "Guess you're used to worse stains, right?" The liquid soaked through her technician's coveralls. No rank, no emblem, no name to protect her. Around her, cadets from military dynasties looked on with either amusement or calculated silence. Some even stepped back, forming a boundary around her as if her lack of pedigree was contagious. But Maya didn't flinch. She wiped at the stain with calm, practiced hands. Her shoulders straightened. There was something unshakable in her quiet, something that didn't ask for permission to exist. What they didn't know could fill hangars. Maya had arrived under cover of midnight, transported in a windowless van through a hidden desert ramp. The invitation was anonymous, just one line on official paper. "You are invited to observe advanced stealth pilot training at Shadowhawk facility. Transportation will be provided, no explanation, no family reference, no promise, just a van, a desert, and a name no one respected." The facility itself was a labyrinth of steel corridors and simulation chambers, so advanced they could fool a satellite. Deep underground, next-gen stealth bombers sat like sleeping titans, waiting for pilots worthy of their silence. But Maya? She wasn't here to fly, at least not in their eyes. To them, she was just a background detail, an observer, a mechanic in disguise. Commander Sarah Mitchell had reviewed her file with barely concealed doubt. No flight school, no military academy, no connections. "You're listed as an observer, Ms. Cross. We admitted you based on some recommendation letter, though I'm not sure why." Maya had answered with just 2 words. "I understand." They assumed that would be the end of it, that she'd disappear into the noise of drills and data destined to assist, not participate. But Maya carried something deeper than a recommendation, a legacy etched in classified ink. If only they knew who had taught her to read aircraft blueprints before she could even tie her shoes. If only they knew that ghosts don't need uniforms to haunt the skies. They called it protocol, but Maya Cross knew exactly what it was: ritualized humiliation dressed in military dress blues. From the moment she stepped foot into the simulator bay, she was assigned to a corner post like a forgotten piece of furniture. Her station had no active screens, no access, no connection to the training network, just a cold steel chair, and the expectation that she'd sit quietly and watch others chase dreams she wasn't allowed to touch. Each day unfolded the same. The cadets would filter in, bright-eyed and bursting with cocky entitlement. Marcus Sterling always entered first, barking out jokes before his boots even hit the simulator floor. Victoria Hawthorne followed close behind, perfect posture, icy smirk, born with clearance codes engraved in her DNA. And then there was Maya, silently already seated, invisible as ever. She wasn't allowed to touch the simulators, but she watched. And while they fumbled through stealth approach drills and evasion simulations, she memorized everything. Her eyes danced across every holographic projection, every button combination, every data stream flashing above the control pods. No one noticed her lips moving slightly, repeating the flight sequences under her breath. They thought they were ignoring her. In truth, they were teaching her. One afternoon, Victoria spun in her simulator seat, smirking with teeth too white to be sincere. "Sweetheart, this isn't your weekend remote control airplane hobby. We're training for Mach 2.1 stealth penetration, not playing with toys." Laughter rippled through the bay like static. Maya said nothing. She just watched. In her mind, her father's voice whispered like wind against glass. "The Phantom. Wing isn't just a machine, Maya, it's a symphony. Silence, speed, angles, it's poetry in flight. If you respect it, it'll carry you through anything. She remembered those nights, huddled next to him in a cramped garage, tracing the lines of classified blueprints while he told her stories the world had forgotten. He taught her which wires sang when stressed, which circuit paths whispered secrets. Under pressure, her education didn't come from an academy. It came from legacy, pain, and silence. The insult that broke the dam came 3 days later, the advancement ceremony. The cadets stood shoulder to shoulder in the assembly hall, a vast, echoing space lined with squadron emblems and legends carved in stone. It felt like standing inside a cathedral built for war. Maya stood at the back, hoping the ceremony would pass without her. But fate had its own script. "Ms. Cross, please step forward," Instructor Reynolds called. Heads turned, smirks bloomed. Maya's legs moved before her mind could stop them. Reynolds held up a flight patch. Each cadet receives recognition based on their current qualification level: fighter tactics, drone stealth, night ops. Sheet B turned dramatically to Maya. "And for our resident observer, something custom." Marcus stepped from the crowd, grinning like a wolf. In his hand, a cheap sticker, bold black letters on neon orange. "Maintenance girl." He slapped it onto her shoulder with a theatrical flair. "Can't fly without the help, right?" he jeered. The hall erupted in laughter. Some clapped, others filmed. Maya stood motionless, her heart pounding but her eyes steady. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She just absorbed it. Reynolds added with faux kindness, "Now you can hold your head high, knowing you're officially recognized for your role supporting real pilots." They thought they were breaking her. They didn't know they were forging steel. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Her room felt too small. The sticker still clung to her uniform like a scarlet letter. She wandered the corridors, glowing faint, blue from emergency lights. She ended up where her heart had been pulling her for weeks, the observation deck above the hangar. Below her, giants. The phantom wings. Black, angular birds sleeping under thermal lights. They looked like secrets molded from shadow, waiting for someone worthy enough to awaken them. Maya pressed her palm against the reinforced glass, eyes locked on one aircraft in particular. Her breath fogged the window. Her heart whispered into the silence. "This isn't over," she murmured. "You and I, we're not done." She reached up, peeled the sticker from her shoulder, and folded it neatly. She tucked it into her pocket, not out of shame, but as a reminder. A trigger, a fuse. Because when you spend your whole life in the dark, you learn how to move like a shadow. And someday they'd learn that the girl they laughed at could fly. Maya exiled to observation post, simulator disabled. Victoria mocks her. "Not your remote control airplane, sweetheart." But Maya memorizes everything silently, her father's whispered advice. His legacy lives through her. The flight patch ceremony, public humiliation climax. Marcus slaps the maintenance girl sticker on her. Applause like acid. Maya doesn't break. She turns it into steel. Midnight reflections, her hand against the glass, whispering to the phantom aircraft. It began at 11:47 p.m., a moment scorched into Shadowhawk's history. The lights went out first, plunging the facility into instant, suffocating darkness. Then the sirens erupted, a screaming symphony of chaos as the backup generators clicked on and bathed the halls in a pulsing red glow. Emergency lights strobed like heartbeat monitors gone wild. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Maya was jarred from half-sleep by the blare. She sat up in her bunk before her mind even registered the noise, already pulling on her boots, her instincts kicking in before protocol. Her feet pounded down the corridors, following the unmistakable scent of scorched wiring toward the main hangar. And there it was. A Phantom Wing, Model X-92, the most advanced stealth aircraft in the program, sat in the center of the hangar, surrounded by officers shouting over one another. Sparks burst from its side panel like flares from a collapsing star. The onboard system had entered an unrecoverable state, autopilot locked in weapons hot mode. No external shutdown worked. Ground control was frozen out like the aircraft had sealed itself off from human command. No way in, no command feed. We're blind, someone yelled. The override won't engage. We've tried 3 protocols already, another barked, voice cracking with panic. The weapon system is live, came a whisper, but it was enough to drop silence over the crowd. Marcus Sterling stood pale-faced, arms crossed tightly over his chest, for once not saying anything at all. Even Victoria Hawthorne, who had once mocked Maya's presence, now shook her head. "I'm not getting in that thing," she muttered. "It's a bomb waiting to detonate." Commander Mitchell stepped forward, eyes scanning the crowd like a general searching for courage she knew wasn't there. "We need someone who can manually override from inside the cockpit," she said. "But no one in this room is certified on emergency internal resets." Maya's breath slowed. Her father's voice rose from memory. "The Phantom Wing has hidden subsystems, fail-safes buried beneath the primary layers. Most pilots won't ever see them. But you, Maya, if the storm ever hits, you'll know where to go." Her boots stepped forward, one, then another, and the circle of personnel parted, like a curtain being drawn open. Marcus caught her arm. "Are you insane? Get back, maintenance girl. You'll die in there." Maya pulled away from his grip without even looking at him. Her eyes were locked on the aircraft. Her voice cut through the panic like a blade. "Let me try." Commander Mitchell snapped around. "That cockpit is locked down. You don't know what you're doing. You'll trigger a weapons release." "I do know," Maya said calmly, "and I'm the only one who might stop it." For a moment, Mitchell's face warred between protocol and desperation, and then she stepped aside. No one moved to stop her, not because they believed in her, but because they had no one else. Maya moved with eerie precision. She unhooked an emergency flight suit from the wall and stepped into it like she'd worn it 100 times. Gloved hands sealed the cuffs. Helmet snapped into place. Oxygen pack secure. Movements automatic. Inherited. Smoke and ozone stung her eyes as she climbed the ladder to the cockpit. The moment she entered, the heat hit her like a furnace. The air was thick with static and the scent of burning plastic. Her father's voice was louder now, not in sound, but in muscle memory. Step 1, isolate the primary bus control. Step 2, purge the auto run. Step 3, Maya strapped in, fingers flying across the control panel. Sparks popped like bullets near her hands, but she didn't flinch. Beeps, buzzes. The Phantom shrieked as she input codes no one else would have dared to try. Codes her father whispered into her hands when she was 12. Manual override. In progress. The console finally flashed in amber. Outside, the red alert dimmed, but before relief could settle, another alarm screeched to life. Engine ignition protocol. The jet was preparing to fly. Maya's pulse surged. The systems had accepted her commands, but that meant the Phantom believed she was a pilot, and it was launching whether she wanted it to or not. "Maya, abort! Abort!" Mitchell shouted over comms, but Maya had already made peace with the sky. She didn't respond. She reached forward, flipped the manual flight toggle, an option not visible on current schematics, and felt the aircraft shudder beneath her. The hangar doors groaned, massive steel panels grinding open to reveal the desert night beyond. Wind roared into the bay. Technicians scrambled for cover. The runway stretched forward like a road to oblivion. She advanced the throttle. The aircraft obeyed. No hesitation, no resistance, just raw, primal power humming under her control. And then, she was moving. The Phantom Wing rolled down the runway, wheels slicing through moonlight. The end of the tarmac came fast. Maya braced her hands, whispered a name. David Cross. And pulled back. The aircraft lifted, massive black wings rising into the night like a myth reborn. For the first time in her life, Maya Cross flew. Not in a simulator, not in imagination, but in a machine built for war and legend. Alone, untrained. Unafraid, and absolutely perfect. The facility behind her erupted into chaos. Inside mission control, Jaws dropped as radar screens showed what no one thought possible. A civilian, a mechanic, piloting a next-gen stealth bomber in fully armed mode. Commander Mitchell's voice trembled as she stared at the radar. Who the hell is she? Victoria murmured under her breath. She's flying it, like she's always known how. Marcus Sterling didn't say a word. He just watched, frozen. Up in the sky, the phantom wing roared across the stars, and inside the cockpit, Maya Cross began the process of saving them all. Alarms, red glow, a phantom wing goes rogue, weapons override, locked autopilot. Panic ensues. No one dares approach. Maya steps forward. Marcus. Get back, maintenance girl. Commander Mitchell warns her. You could die. Maya suits up. Calm, precise, inherited discipline. Into the cockpit, the smell of smoke. Her father's voice guides her. Override. Procedure, one wrong move, everything explodes. System stabilizes, but the jet preps for takeoff. No turning back. Maya flies. Alone, untrained, unafraid, and perfect. The radar screens glowed like haunted mirrors. In mission control, no one could speak. All eyes were glued to the live feed, a stealth phantom wing maneuvering through the midnight sky with textbook precision, executing commands that only top-tier veterans could manage. Only this wasn't a top-tier veteran, it wasn't a ranked pilot at all. It was Maya Cross. Who the hell is she? A technician whispered. No one answered, because no one could. Inside that cockpit was the girl they'd called a janitor, a mechanic, a ghost. And now? She was rewriting everything they thought they knew about control. Above the desert, the aircraft glided like a shadow dressed in stars. Maya moved through the system resets like she was born inside that cockpit, stabilizing avionics, recalibrating weapon safeties, restoring onboard communication systems. She ignored the disbelief flooding over the comms. Her mind was elsewhere, with her father. Her voice finally broke the silence, calm, steady. Control, this is Cross. Systems are stable. Weapons protocol has been disarmed, requesting clearance for landing. There was a long pause. Then, through the static, a stunned voice. Cross. Clearance granted. Immediate approach authorized. Maya guided the aircraft down with absolute grace. As if the Phantom itself recognized her, the jet touched the runway like a feather descending onto water, wheels kissing the earth in perfect synchronicity. The roar of the engine faded to silence, and in that silence the whole facility held its breath. As Maya stepped out of the cockpit, the hangar lit up with floodlights. A crowd had gathered. No one spoke. No one moved. Then from the crowd, an elderly man emerged. Slow, deliberate, every step weighed down by decades of command. General Robert Hayes. His eyes were locked on her. When he stopped in front of Maya, he didn't speak right away. He just looked at her. Really looked, and then lifted his right hand in a trembling salute. Not for a subordinate, but for a legend. Maya Cross, he said, his voice thick with reverence. Daughter of Captain David Cross. Gasps rippled through the assembly. The override sequence, the legacy access codes. The general continued. Your father didn't just survive the 1998 Phantom crash. He designed the very fail-safes that saved us tonight. We thought that knowledge died with him, but it didn't. He passed it to you. Maya didn't answer. She didn't need to. The weight of her silence said more than any salute ever could. Behind her, Marcus Sterling looked like he might collapse. Victoria Hawthorne's mouth hung open, stunned into a rare silence. Instructor Reynolds took a shaky step back. Commander Mitchell's jaw clenched, her eyes shadowed by guilt. The general turned to face the crowd, his voice returning to the hard bark of command. Everyone who denied this young woman simulator access, everyone who mocked her, everyone who participated in the public disgrace she endured, will report to my office at 600 one by one. A wave of tension snapped across the crowd like static. No one dared argue. Then he turned back to Maya. You saved this base. You saved lives. You did what none of our top graduates could do. Effective immediately, I am offering you full pilot, clearance, squadron command, and elite rank recognition. The crowd waited. Surely this was her moment. But Maya, standing in that flight suit with soot on her cheek and fire still in her eyes, simply shook her head. I didn't come here for rank, she said. And I sure as hell didn't come here for glory. The words dropped like thunder. I came to honor my father, to prove that legacy isn't about medals or names or bloodlines. It's about truth, about showing up when it matters, even when no one believes you should. She reached into her flight suit, pulled out the crumpled orange sticker and held it up. The words still legible. Maintenance girl. I think I'll keep this, she said, tucking it back into her pocket. It reminds me who I had to be before. You saw who I really was. With nothing left to prove, she turned and walked off the tarmac, past the generals, past the cadets, past the shocked faces that had once turned away from her. She disappeared into the same corridor she entered through weeks ago, with nothing but her father's jacket over her shoulder and a legend trailing quietly in her wake. Maya resets the Lee. Aircraft mid-flight, perfect stealth maneuvers. Command. Who is she? Landing, silence, floodlights. General Hayes steps out, salutes Maya, calls her by full name, reveals truth. David Cross, her father, passed down the last phantom codes. Entire room sinks in shame. Reynolds, Sterling, Mitchell, all stunned. Hayes orders disciplinary action for all who mocked her. Maya quietly declines the pilot offer. I wasn't here for glory. I was here for legacy. Leaves with her father's jacket, sticker in her pocket. The wind over Shadowhawk had always howled like a warning. But in the days following Maya Cross's flight, it began to whisper something else. Change. Quietly, with no fanfare, the transformation began. The banners of entitlement were pulled down, the backroom rules rewritten. And without public announcement or ceremony, the name was changed. The Shadowhawk training facility became the Cross Strategic Center. There were no speeches, just a plaque mounted in silence inside Hangar Bay 1. 5 words, carved into brushed steel, in honor of courage unrecognized. Maya was never seen again, but her story stayed. In the simulator bays, cadets whispered her name like myth. They trained harder. They watched one another more closely. The bravado faded. In its place, curiosity and humility grew. Every new student heard about the girl who flew when no one else would, and not because she was told to, but because no one else could. Her bunk? Still untouched. It remained empty, preserved as if her presence might one day return to reclaim it. Some said it was out of respect. Others said it was guilt. But no one dared sleep there. Instructor Reynolds kept the orange maintenance girl sticker pinned inside. Her office no longer a punchline but a scar, a reminder of just how blind tradition could be. General Hayes wrote often in a small, unmarked journal. In one entry found years later by a cadet who inherited his desk, it read, "The sky does not care about your rank, your title, or your name. The sky respects only the brave." Sometimes during desert storms, cadets would gather at the flight, deck's edge, lightning arcing across the distant hills, wind whipping their jackets. They would scan the clouds, searching, hoping, believing. And if the lightning was just right, if the sky cracked open long enough, a few claimed they saw her, a black-winged silhouette rising into the storm, silent and free. "Wherever she is," one trainee whispered, "she gave us permission to be more than we were born to be, and maybe that was the real legacy. Not the aircraft, not the override, not the rank refused, but the quiet permission to rise beyond expectation." She vanished into the storm. But legends don't disappear. They just fly higher. Maybe next time she'll be watching you. Stay tuned for part 2, The Silent Squadron.